With the country still reeling from the deaths of 19 children and 2 teachers last week in Uvalde, Texas, the debate on how to stop further school shootings rages on, as well as how to effectively secure our schools. Despite the narrative division, there are ideas gaining bipartisan support, namely arming and training school staffers. A new Trafalgar Convention of States poll found that nearly 70% of Republicans, almost 50% of Democrats, and nearly 60% of independents support this idea, and they think it'll make our schools safer. Congressman and New York gubernatorial candidate Lee Zeldin goes a bit further, and he believes that every New York school should have a single point of entry and trained armed school resource officers. Congressman Lee Zeldin joins us now. Congressman, welcome. It's great to have you on the show.
It's great to be with you.
Well, let me ask you, if you're elected governor, tell us how your plan would work in New York State. These police officers, would they be on loan? Are they an extra force hired for each school? How would this be funded?
Well, my position is that whenever a state is issuing a mandate to a local school district, a local school, that the state should pay for it. And the idea of the state saying, hey, this is a great idea, it's well-intentioned, now you all have to come up with the money, is something that you might say, yeah, it's well-intentioned, but you just passed the buck once again, and the school's just struggling to pay for it. Now they have to cut some other service that we might all agree is important and we shouldn't get rid of. So I believe that the state should fund it. I do believe that every school should have a trained, armed school resource officer, that they should be working closely with local law enforcement, that there are now efficient ways where I was talking to somebody who's a former Navy SEAL offering up his services to be able to train people in all schools, all school districts around the state with lessons learned and ways to improve best practices inside of all schools so that they're prepared. And I'll also tell you that, aside from the support for a single point of entry, I believe that if there is somebody who is an educator, a staffer who works inside of a school, and they want to safely and securely carry a firearm and they're a law-abiding citizen, we should be looking at that as something that helps secure the school. I don't think that should be perceived as a threat at all.
Well, let me ask you about obviously the Democrats like to focus on root causes, right? And so we've got a mental health crisis in our country. There are a lot of concerns about these red flags that we're seeing with some of these shooters. And it's oftentimes after the event that we hear, oh, we heard so-and-so made this threat and that threat. In Florida, I don't know if you saw this, but there is a no-nonsense sheriff. His name is Carmine Marcino. He's taken a zero-tolerance approach. There was a 10-year-old in Lee County, Florida, that threatened a shooting at his school. It led to his arrest. The Daily Mail reporting today that this kid is, quote, crying all day as he's held for 3 weeks in a detention center, while his lawyer just argues it was a joke that was taken out of context. And, I applaud the sheriff for his quick action. And I'm curious, how do you see this type of arrest, this type of approach in context with the gun legislation that the House is debating right now?
I think this is a real issue. We just saw this in the next town over from where I live in Suffolk County, where the local district attorney had to arrest a young person who issued a threat to shoot up a school. We have to be taking it seriously. And one of the problems with it, it's not some funny prank. You have to make an example of those who are going too far because you have to treat it seriously. You then end up flexing out resources towards investigating it. And it's something that should come with consequences. I will tell you, if you look at, for example, the New York State red flag law, it can target law-abiding citizens in a way that if you are a law-abiding citizen, you can have your firearms taken away without even being noticed of the hearing, without being present at the hearing and being able to state your case. Then you have a right to appeal, but the burden is on you to prove with clear and convincing evidence that you deserve to get your firearms back. And you know what the consequences are if someone makes a fake accusation? And we were just talking about a fake threat that was made down in Florida. Well, if someone makes a fake accusation that results in you losing your firearms, the consequences in New York is absolutely nothing. So there are flaws with regards to due process and accountability that we have to take seriously.
Well, speaking of some flaws, I want to talk about New York City a little bit, where obviously we've seen a major rise in violence in the city. Mayor Adams announced the new gun czar. There was an hour-long event. He never really explained what this position will do, and he also said that he took no applications. Listen to this.
I don't want people to send me in their resume and telling me what they did that other people know about. I only had to vet one person, A.T. Mitchell.
And a lot of people have questions about the background of this AT missile. Congressman, it seems like when these Democrats want to pretend that they're tackling a problem, they find a czar, nothing changes. What's the point of this position, and is it going to help the gun violence or the violence problem that we're seeing in New York City?
There's definitely mixed emotion because everyone acknowledges that there is an issue with crimes that are being committed with illegal guns inside of the city. But it's also really hard for a law-abiding citizen to get a permit to be able to carry a firearm to protect themselves. In New York State, it's not a shall issue state. New York is a may issue state. You shouldn't have to prove to the government that you should have a permit. Now, the United States Supreme Court is hearing a case brought by the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association. A decision's due out this month challenging New York State's concealed carry law. I signed the amicus brief. I believe that the Supreme Court should overturn New York's law. So what I'm concerned about and why it's mixed emotion is we all agree that there is a problem with with crimes committed with illegal firearms in New York City, but the actions taken are actions that in many ways we have seen through the years and the decades, really making it very difficult for a law-abiding citizen to carry a firearm for their personal self-defense and having to prove their worth to the government is wrong.
Well, Congressman Lee Zeldin, I know we're just a few weeks out now from your primary. As a native New Yorker, I got to say I wish you the best. And thanks for coming on the show tonight.
Thank you. It's great to be with you again.